I just played Hogwarts Legacy. This is what happened. A little over 20 years ago, we took our first steps into Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry alongside a young boy named Harry Potter. With each passing story and movie, the love for the school and its surroundings grew and grew. Games over the years have allowed us to play as Harry and relive those stories with just a dash of our own personalities. But many have held onto a dream about an owl arriving with their Hogwarts acceptance letter and having our own adventures within the castle. After my first session of Hogwarts Legacy, I believe this game will be the closest we've come so far to realizing that dream. This single-player action RPG puts you in the late 1800s to live the unwritten for your own Hogwarts legacy. While the main narrative has mostly been kept hidden from marketing, we do know that we're a late arrival to Hogwarts as a fifth-year student. We also can sense and wield ancient magic for some reason, but that's probably part of the bigger mystery going on to uncover a hidden truth about the wizarding world. I truly believe Hogwarts Legacy is a game for everyone, and that it will appeal to a wide range of gamers and fans of the wizarding world. Let's take a look at my hands-on preview of the game, which includes gorgeous environmental scenery, open-world exploration inside and outside the castle, hidden spots and puzzles, and some of the most fun combat I've experienced. All the things that left me wanting more. I want to thank WB Games for sponsoring my travel and hosting this 2-hour preview session. There are links to full versions of my own gameplay in the description. Personally, I love narrative in games, and as a longtime Harry Potter fan, I definitely plan to pay attention to how our story unfolds in Hogwarts Legacy. Related, and perhaps unsurprisingly, I cannot wait to have a game where we can literally walk around Hogwarts and the surrounding areas to experience a living fantasy world. This was apparent in the detail inside the castle, the characters and their quirky lines, and the overall beauty found in the Scottish Highlands. Although the default clothes they gave us were Gryffindor, I'm a Ravenclaw who appreciates being able to look at every nook and cranny to admire the beauty of this Hogwarts interior. Once I got inside Hogwarts, the detail present in the architecture and design blew me away. I had already seen some of the interior from gameplay showcases, but it was great to see it with the controller in my hands. From the texture on the rugs, to the unique look of each area, to this creepy magical bus that turned its head to follow me around, I was immersed in a real, fully designed and thought out Hogwarts. This was a guided preview, so I was directed to different spots and got to find and collect multiple field guide pages. These are collectibles hidden throughout Hogwarts Legacy. Sometimes I used Revelio to uncover interactables in my vicinity, there were flying pages for me to use Accio, and there were also recurring statues in different locations where I had to cast a specific spell like Incendio or Levioso to unlock. None of these were marked on my minimap. They were just part of the world, and I had to find them. Speaking of the minimap, I never really looked at it, probably because I was interested in looking at the world in front of me, so I definitely missed some places with icons that I could have gone to, but if you're not interested in that type of display, you should be able to adjust UI settings to more fully immerse yourself in the game. On the other hand, if you want to set your accessibility options to have more guidance, there's availability to do so. I appreciate the flexibility for everyone to choose what works best for their preferences and playstyle. One of the oddities I encountered inside the castle were a few doors that had a loading symbol appear before it would let me enter. It only happened twice and not with every door, so this suggests to me that there is segmented loading as you navigate Hogwarts, but I cannot confirm this hunch. And this makes sense reflecting on my own experience. It's a massive castle that we want to navigate, so potentially, instead of having loading screens, they opted for this approach. Personally, it didn't bother me too much, but we'll have to wait and see how it feels when we have a full exploration of the interior at launch. Another element that I loved about walking around the castle was seeing all the students around. Though many of the NPCs are simply in the background and cannot be interacted with, I still heard some mumblings of conversation all around me. Of course, there are louder students with specific lines, some of which were directed toward me, like Sebastian losing a duel or me taking down a troll, and others were just students living their own lives and had nothing to do with me at all. I enjoyed the latter because it added to the living world I was inhabiting. People have their own stuff going on, and I am not necessarily the center of the universe. One of my favorite in-game scenes I stumbled upon was where Peeves tortures a Hufflepuff student with the full story of his bell jar incident. Based on what the student said, this is not the first time Peeves had done this to him. I couldn't intervene and help this poor student, but I was able to sit back and listen to the full conversation. For the quest-giving students I encountered, I did notice some drastic lighting shifts as it changed perspective from my face to their face. It was a bit distracting, but I'm hoping there can be some adjustments made to the game so this doesn't happen often. Perhaps this is something they're considering for a day one patch, I don't know. Typically in games, we see fixes to these kinds of minor issues in patches as time goes on. And though I've been praising the inside of the castle filled with all of its characters and fine attention to detail, I must say that outside of the castle is absolutely breathtaking. Hogwarts Legacy is simply just a gorgeous game. The lighting, the scenery in the distance, and being able to get a bird's eye view were some of my favorite parts while playing. I always enjoy being in high spots to see the lay of the land in games that I play, so it's pretty great to be able to fly and easily get that view. I hopped on my broomstick and took it for a spin around a few areas: the South Hogwarts region, Hogwarts grounds, including the Quidditch pitch, and Hogwarts Castle itself outside of the Astronomy Tower and the Great Hall stained glass. Broomflight was fun, though I didn't fully get a handle on it. That might have been intentional though, because I did feel resistance, especially in a section where there may have been wind. If that's the case, I'm very excited that the environment may impact how our broomflight feels out in the world. It could also be that at level 2, I am not that well trained with my broom yet, and maybe upgrades to our broom will feel like there's more control, but that's just speculation on my part. I need more practice with it either way. A tiny detail I noticed were little stars flying from the broom as I swerved around. It's another example of the care that went into design across all elements of Hogwarts Legacy. I was also told by team members that there are landing spot locations in the castle, and although I didn't find them during my short flight, I am looking forward to discovering them when the game comes out. Aside from flying around the grounds, I got to explore a section of the map in a quest with Poppy. I had to follow her through a snowy path, but it was a bit confined. You can easily tell when your player character's walking movement is slow during parts where the game wants you to pay attention or hear dialogue during the quest, even though you're exploring on foot. I didn't particularly like getting the prompt that I was straying too far from Poppy. It took me out of the moment and launched me straight into panic because I had 10 seconds to get back to her. I personally love wandering in open world exploration games, even if I have a quest active. I wasn't going to abandon Poppy, I just wanted to see what was in the water for a minute. It was also during this point in my gameplay that I got to see nature in action. I wasn't expecting a Dugbog to eat wildlife right in front of me, so I definitely want to keep my eyes peeled and aware of my surroundings for similar moments that make the world feel alive. All of this exploration really set the tone for me as I jumped ahead to level 19 for a quest filled with combat. Now, I already had a glimpse of combat from training in the Crossed Wands Dueling Club, but during that initial experience, I found myself with an urge to spam buttons because I was learning how it felt to approach a battle. Even though I completed the tutorial, I still completely forgot about the basic attack, so I'm eager to try again now that I better understand what it feels like to be in a battle with several enemies. Spamming buttons obviously does not work with our named spells having cooldowns, but I do think that with more experience in combat, I'll have a better sense for where my spells are and which order I want to cast those spells to be more effective. I'm excited that my short experience in Hogwarts Legacy combat left me feeling that I had a lot of room to improve. Overall, it felt really cool to have a variety of spells at my disposal to take down several enemies. I loved having a companion fighting alongside me. I loved seeing unexpected destruction from spellcasting that bounced into something it shouldn't have, like when I destroyed an entire bridge. I loved the epic Protego deflections and dodge rolls when I timed it right. And I especially loved being able to adapt and develop different approaches during the battle. One of the markers I use when I play games is to pay attention to how it feels when my character dies in-game. Although I did not die during combat, and thank you very much to all of my Wiggenweld potions for healing, I jumped off a cliff for fun and met the screen with all caps, "Your journey has ended." I had to redo the fight again and was not upset about it one bit. I was actually looking forward to another run to try out different combos and see how they worked. I think that's a great sign. Player deaths can contribute to the fun and not necessarily take away from the experience of this game. It suggests to me that replayability for Hogwarts Legacy is bound to have hundreds of hours of entertainment, for a longer lifespan. Let's summarize. As a fan of the wizarding world and all its magic, I am completely in love with what I saw. Everything in this game is beautiful, and I can see myself getting lost for hours escaping into Hogwarts Legacy. As a gamer who loves open world exploration, there were a few moments where I bumped up against the limits of what we can do in Hogwarts Legacy, though. While I could swim on the surface of this pool, I couldn't dive and swim underneath. I was unable to land my broom in a few places, like the Quidditch stands and the Hogwarts roof, and while on a quest with Poppy, she forbid me from wandering too far away from her. Although these were instances where my freedom of action was redirected, they were few and far between during the preview. I expect to quickly adapt to the specific boundaries of Hogwarts Legacy gameplay at launch. And if you love combat in games, then I think you'll very much enjoy the way it feels. I played on normal mode and it was challenging, but super fun and addicting. Ultimately, you're the judge of what matters to you in games. I was impressed during my brief introduction to Hogwarts Legacy, and it is a game that is not one to pass up on in 2023. Whether you're in the Harry Potter fandom, or you just like a solid action RPG set in a beautiful world, I highly recommend checking it out for yourself.